Hi guys, welcome to the Savage Sports Podcast. I'm here today with Soly Kor, the director of the Longhorn Open. Hey Soly, how you doing?
Good, how's it going?
I'm doing well. So, what was it now? 2 weeks ago, we had the Longhorn Open. Man, that was fun.
Agreed. It's a beast of a tournament. It's a lot of fun to put it on, and it's really good to be over with at the same time.
Really good to be over with. So, in the tournament, there were a lot of good matches. I know you got to watch a few of them. I know only a few because you were running the whole thing. What were the two favorite matches that you got to watch in post or during the tournament?
Yeah, honestly, as you mentioned, running the tournament, it doesn't offer a whole lot of opportunity to watch. Normally I like watching friends in some of the lower skill levels just to see how things are going there, but unfortunately this one I just didn't really have that opportunity, so I only got to watch just a couple matches, really mostly around some of the pro matches just to make sure that some of those were going off in accordance with how the IRT wanted. So mostly the only matches I sat down to watch were Kane's matches, primarily the finals, which I thought was a phenomenal match against De La Rosa.
Oh my goodness, that was the best match I've seen against Kane in quite a few months.
Yeah, it's really nice seeing De La Rosa come in and play up to his full potential, which he did in that match. And that's really what it takes to provide Kane, any opportunity to be able to take a game off of him, let alone an entire match. And so I was really impressed with what he was doing on the court. And I know Kane really is far more enthusiastic in a match when he has somebody who's really pushing him. That's what we saw in that match. And altogether, the crowd had a great treat.
Oh, yeah, I felt that the first 15 points, Daniel was just playing out of his mind. It was amazing to watch. And we had such a good turnout. There were over 100 people in the stands. I don't think I actually got to watch much of the match because there were so many people around it. I was looking at it from the corner and having to look at my phone to see the actual shots.
Yeah, I was really impressed with how many people came out to watch, just racquetball players in the tournament in general, but also spectators. I got tons of emails from people across the state asking how can I come watch, particularly in Austin.
Yeah.
And so spectatorship was free. That offered us a lot of opportunity to drive traffic, so that was really nice. But even like the first round match, round of 16s and the round of 32s, there were a decent amount of people watching those matches. I remember Friday night watching Kane's round of 16 match, and it was packed. It was standing room only, and so that was really, really exciting for me to watch. And I think also exciting for the pros to be able to play in front of that type of audience.
Yeah, I think it was amazing. You guys, you, Soly Kor, and Sandy Rios, and who was the tall guy? Jack Long ran such a good tournament. Second biggest tournament in the States, right?
Yeah, and that's largely due to us basically cutting off participation. So the amount of courts that we have available with the time that we have available from the university, we're only able to hold about 600 matches, which roughly translates into about 450 participants. So in order to control our traffic flow, we had to develop a lottery system this year in order to take indications of interest, if you will, for those who wanted to play, and then lottery off the spots. Much different than last year where we sort of just told everybody the certain time and date to go in to register, and unfortunately there was so much traffic flow that we bogged down our two sports and couldn't really take registration very efficiently, and so that's why we moved to the lottery. So this year, if we look at the lottery entries, those who actually wanted a spot, and we look at those who missed it and actually had to join our wait list, we had about 600 people who wanted it in the event.
And how many people played in the Open in Minnesota?
So the U.S.
Probably
Open,
about the same amount.
It's more than that. I think I haven't looked at the final number, but it's somewhere between 730 and 750.
Okay. Yeah, I feel if we could use UT's courts from Wednesday to Sunday, then we could run it the full over 600.
That's always possible, right? So more days, more people, more court time, more matches, and so forth. So right now it's just a matter of working with UT to try and accommodate. They mostly don't want to offer too much time, as they don't want to take away time from students and staff who get the courts. So we sort of feel privileged for the amount that we get thus far. And at the same time, we also have to, there's a lot more manpower from a volunteer standpoint and a few others in order to run a tournament starting on Wednesday or Thursday. And so those are some decisions that we have to determine if we want to even really come to do before we even go to UT and say, hey, what do you think of this? But so far, we sort of take what they offer us and say thank you. And currently they opened it up to Friday morning, which allowed us to do almost a full 3-day and increased our capacity this year. So we were at least very excited about that.
No, I think Friday is a really good start day for most people, because outside of the pro level, I think most people need to work till at least Thursday, and so it allows for so many different types of people to come down to the tournament if you don't have to start midweek.
Yeah, and I think it just depends. Obviously the U.S. Open, people put it on their calendar, it's a vacation, so I think it's doable. I think really it's just a matter of just working through the kinks of accommodating our volunteers and trying to get that court space from the university.
And you've been doing the Longhorn for a very long time. I remember the last time I volunteered this year, but I also volunteered 8 years ago back in 2012. And so how long have you been doing the Longhorn Open? How long have you been directing?
Yeah, so the story starts back when we were here as students at the University of Texas. And so you mentioned Jack Long earlier. So he and I both went to school between 94 and graduated in 98. And so, at that time, we were both pretty good players and wanted to go to intercollegiate nationals and represent the University of Texas. And what we needed was funding in order to be able to go make that trip. And Jack's father had some experience with running tournaments. We said, hey, listen, this is something that we can do. We've got the courts, and this would be a great fundraiser. And so that's really when the Longhorn Open was sort of reborn. And I say reborn because there were a few a decade earlier, there might have been like 1 or 2 tournaments thrown by other UT individuals, but it really wasn't anything consistent. So while we were there, we ran it 3 out of our 4 years. We passed the baton to Ryan Rogers. He did a great job running the event. He passed the baton to someone else, and I believe the tournament died after that point. And so I moved back to Austin and got back into racquetball and wanted to be able to offer the tournament again. So I got together with the UT Racquetball Club in 2005 and asked them if they wanted to start this thing up again and have the opportunity to have a funded trip to intercollegiate nationals. They said yes, and so that first one was 2006, and the rest is history.
Okay. And speaking of intercollegiate nationals, now the tournament is put to fund UT's racquetball team. What were you able to do with this tournament to help UT? How did that work out for them this year?
Well, we've basically been fully funding the team's trip, which includes 6 men, 6 women, and 2 alternates, all expenses paid, and we've been doing that since 2006. So, that's basically including their flight, their hotel, entry fees, and in some cases being able to do a per diem for food. on a daily basis. So primarily that's where the funds go, but usually there's also a little in excess, and so that's used for the club's mixers throughout the years. They also offer reimbursement for anybody who wants to get into competitive racquetball and reimburse their entry fees to other tournaments around Texas. So there's a variety of other funding for the club that takes place through this one big fundraiser.
Darn, I wish I had known that while I was in the club. I would have used it more often.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is amazing. Paying for intercollegiate nationals all the way, plus a per diem. That's definitely what I would like.
Yeah, and it's just a great way for us to get students involved in the sport, getting them introduced to the competitive outlet, but at the same time having representation in intercollegiate nationals for the University of Texas. And that really becomes the biggest thing. We'll always have exposure at intercollegiate nationals because of what we're doing here with this tournament.
Right, and it's so important to have those 6 and 6 because not all the teams can bring 12 people because of not having enough players on the team or not having enough players who can afford to come, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So, in addition, what was your second favorite match during the tournament?
Yeah, again, I didn't really see much beyond the De La Rosa as far as a full match. I did get a chance to watch a little bit of the Beltran-Kane match, and that was a really good one as well. And again, I saw the Kane and Acuna match. I'd probably have to put the Beltran match in second just because it's always great seeing those two guys spar. They've been playing together for a while, and I think Beltran's game matches up against Kane's game.
Two kings of the court.
Yeah,
two kings of the court from different countries, one in Mexico, one Canada.
Yeah, so it's been so again, I wish I had the time to watch a whole lot other matches. There were so many phenomenal matches played throughout the entire tournament. Unfortunately, it's just one of the luxuries I'm not afforded while running the event.
Yeah, I did get to watch the Acuna match, and Andres didn't play bad at all in that match, but Kane still dominated him pretty hard.
Well, Kane has that ability.
Yes.
And it's really nice seeing some of these new rising stars like Acuna come out and really kind of throw it all out there to really just provide Kane a good match. And I thought he really did well in that aspect, in that particular match. There's a few other players who are starting to really up their level. And so I'm really excited to see how that plays out over the next 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, and I was talking to Andre at the Longhorn for one of the other podcast episodes, and he gave Kane a really good match in CSET New York. I believe he took one of his first games of the year away.
Andre Perea is a really great talent. It's always fun watching him play on the court. Really aggressive game style, very fast, a great retriever. And so, playing against Kane, who really has the total package of everything you could ever ask for in a racquetball court, really all these other players have to really fine-tune every aspect of their game to really compete. And Andre Perea does a phenomenal job at that. And year to year, the improvement that guy has on the court, it's just impressive.
Okay. And so more about the Longhorn, because this is basically your baby now. It's grown with you. You said in the interview with the IRT commentator that next year may be bigger and there may be some new things.
Yeah. So You know, by bigger, we probably would try and draw a few more IRT pros. I mean, we had a really, really nice draw this year.
Excellent draw, yes.
Probably one of the best draws of the year, but I think we can, start qualifying matches on a Thursday and allowing us to actually have more pros. And I think that also, just by way of what we did this year, the word will spread to all the pros that this is a fun tournament to play. This is one that you want to put on your calendar and come back and make sure that you're a part of every single year. And so I think a lot of that will help increase the size of the draw. Outside of that, there are a couple things that we're working on that I don't want to totally disclose at this moment. But ultimately, what we want to do is provide a phenomenal outlet for the pros to be able to showcase their talent and for them to be compensated as best as they possibly can for that talent.
You hear that, guys? So, Soly's not going to disclose. This is the best part. Anticipation. We don't know what he's going to give us next year. So you just have to come to the Longhorn Open to find out whether you're going to be a spectator or a player. You got to come and find out what Soly's going to give us next year.
Yeah, our goal here is to ultimately be the flagship event for the IRT outside of the U.S. Open. If we can execute on a few things that we have cooking, I think we'll be well in that range.
Yeah, and my favorite thing this year as a volunteer was taking care of the pro room, the VIP room.
Yeah, we had a great room there for our sponsors, for our volunteers, and for the pros. We had some fun activities like ping pong and games. We had some great snacks, primarily through Thoroughbred, which is a great bakery here in town, and really just a place where people could lounge and just sort of get away from the tournament aspect of things. So we were really excited to be able to offer that.
Okay, awesome. Now, personally, you just got back into playing singles?
I'm still primarily mostly playing doubles these days.
Okay. Why do you mostly play doubles?
You know, a lot of it really just has to do with just the wear and tear on my body. I can make it through a tournament far better playing doubles than I can singles. But I'm working on rehabbing right now. I'm in pretty good shape, and my hope is that I can start getting back to competing in singles at the level that I want to be playing at. It's nothing that I can ever do at the Longhorn Open. Unfortunately, that's one of the tournaments where I'm on my feet all week long, all throughout the tournament, and being able to compete in singles is just a little too much. And so for that one, I primarily do doubles, but hopefully here in the near future, I can start getting back into singles and start competing again at a high level, I hope.
So I've seen you play with Kane and in doubles with Bruce and Jody, and I love watching your matches at Lifetime. They're a ton of fun. I think probably if you got back into singles and doubles, you could play like some tier 5s and tier 3s on the Pro Tour in doubles, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I still feel like I'm playing at a fairly high level when my body's in good shape and I'm focused. And yeah, I mean, playing with Kane, Kane and I have pretty much been playing. We played in the early 2000s a couple times, and then he moved to Brownsville. He moved back to Austin, I believe, in 2007-ish, and so we've basically been sparring ever since. So
It's kept you very sharp.
I've learned a lot over the years. It's been a true joy. One of the things that has just been one of the most fun things in my life to be able to play and train with the individual who is just not even arguably
one of the best players ever in
the
history.
best players to ever play the sport. And so we've developed a really strong friendship throughout the years, and that's been really great. But I learned so much from him on the court. It's just an absolute joy to be able to play with him, and it's just been fantastic.
Okay. And now switching moods to the last segment. we're going to play a game called Inappropriate Questions.
Okay.
So what we do in this game, we play paper, rock, scissors, and the winner gets to ask the other person an inappropriate question.
Okay.
Or any question that you like.
Okay.
Our interview is going to be safe for work based on how we've talked, since we're not using any explicitives. But not all of these podcasts will be, just for future reference for all of the listeners. So we're gonna play paper, rock, scissors, and see who gets to ask the inappropriate question.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Paper, rock, scissors. Okay. So Cody won, and he's gonna ask Soly an inappropriate question. Soly, what was your worst mistake at the Longhorn Open? Oh, and I forgot to tell you, if you don't want to answer, you can say with your hand up, "I plead the fifth."
Okay.
And this is really fun for players outside of the U.S. because I explained this to them and they don't know anything about the U.S. justice system.
Okay.
So yeah, what was the biggest mistake you made during the tournament?
Biggest mistake I made throughout the tournament. That's a tough one. I mean, every single year we always come up with a huge list of improvements and things that we could be doing better. So I'm just trying to think of that list of where we can make improvements.
So yeah, if you didn't have one, then you get to ask me a question.
Well, I'm almost afraid to ask you a question, so I think I want to take this.
Okay.
I'd say the biggest mistake that we made this year, ultimately was probably. I'd say the biggest mistake that we made this year was either not paying the pros enough or not including doubles. And so, I think that one of the biggest attractions right now is, watching the pros play doubles. And so, looking back at how we had determined how our first pro stop was going to look, we sort of bypassed the doubles and kind of focused mostly on singles. And that was probably a good decision, but if I had to reflect back on it, I would say, we probably should have done doubles.
Well, the good thing is you're going to be here next year. We're going to have another Longhorn Open, and we're going to get you more sponsors. You're going to have more sponsors. More people are going to come. People are going to be on the wait list, and it's going to be another amazing tournament. I'm hoping to volunteer again. I had so much fun. I was there for way too many hours, and so I'll be there as a spectator or a volunteer. So I'm sure we can help you get that done. If there's anybody out there who wants to sponsor the Longhorn, tell Soly as soon as possible. Where can people reach out to you?
Best thing to do is through email, utlonghornopen@gmail.com. They can also go to our Facebook page, Longhorn Open, and message us through that medium.
Okay, and yeah, I'll put that all in the show notes down below. So thank you very much, Soly, for coming in and sitting with me. I think that was a really good podcast. I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you being so honest. I hope we can do this again next year after the next Open.
Yeah, fantastic.
All right, see you later, Soly.